Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Dave from StructuredStrength.com, and today we're going to talk about squatting, in particular back squats. That's what we're going to be using today. But we see people do it so bad because we've heard so many people use all these cues and they mistake cues for the way that you're actually supposed to squat. So cues are to make corrections. It's not necessarily a style of squat. The first one we're going to talk about is weight in heels. We hear people say weight in heels, weight in heels, weight in heels, to the point where people just rock back all the way into their heels while squatting, and they're losing power, they're off balance, and quite honestly, sometimes it can be dangerous. So if you take a look at my feet right now, when I squat, my weight should be in my big toe, side of my foot, and my heel. So I'm balanced almost like a tripod on my foot. What happens is so many people when they first train, they squat and they end up in their toes, and then they come back up. And that's because they usually sports you play on the ball of your feet. When we're tired or when we're tight, we have a tendency to go into our toes, and also just mechanically, we're not sure how to squat. So you hear people say weight in their heels. Now, if I just go weight in my heels, now my toes come up, and I'm off balance the whole time, and I'm losing power. We need this whole foot down. So I get it, we want weight back in our heel, but we also need this big toe down and the side of our foot down. Just the big toe down will recruit more muscle and automatically makes your squat go up. So to give you a quick example on it, there was a guy here that was a personal trainer, and he was squatting, he was in good shape. We started noticing that his squat numbers weren't that great. It kind of didn't make sense to us. We looked, and he'd squat in his heels all the time. He's always all the way back in his heels, all the way back in his heels. His toes would literally come up every time. As soon as we switched him to having his whole foot flat, bam, those squat numbers went up immediately that day, just because of the way you're moving, the mechanics of the lift, and your ability to recruit more muscle. So if you're one of those people where all you think is weight in heels, stop squatting like that, okay? You can have your whole foot down. It's gonna be okay. Big toe stays down, side of the foot and the heel. Just don't be all the way back. Deadlifts, different story, but for squats, let's create that platform. Let's use as much muscle as possible. The second thing we see a lot of is people so concerned about knees out. And this always became big with Kelly Starrett, and we saw a lot of people do this crazy knees out squat. Again, this is a cue for a correction, not a necessarily style of squat. So what I'm talking about is, sometimes when we have new people squat, you'll see their knees come in and up, and you'll hear the cue, knees out. So they'll go down, you hear knees out, boop, they go knees out, and they come back up. And over again, as we tell people this, over time, all of a sudden we start to see people squatting really far out with their knees, and then coming back up. So now with the way our shin and our knee meet up, if we're super far out, we can create gapping in our knee. Sometimes things can twist, but you're also not as strong because you're not able to use muscles the same way. So don't get over-exaggerated with the knee out. The goal is to have that knee and the foot line up. You don't need to be outside of your foot. So video yourself, let's see what's going on with it. I'm a little weird because I actually spiral fractured my whole tibia. So when I squat, my knee is almost inside my big toe, but that's how my shin lines up. So my feet are completely different on either side. If you look at it, here's my knee, my foot is different compared to my knee, all right, just because I broke my shin. So don't exaggerate that knees out. You're gonna be weaker, and sometimes you can kind of tweak yourself up, so work on that. So don't get stuck way in the heels only. Don't get stuck only thinking knees out. Knees out if you have a tendency to cave in. You can even see some Chinese lifters learn to come knees in at the bottom because they get out of the hole faster. I'm not saying to do that, but they actually learn that. The last thing we're gonna talk about with squats is the hips back cue. Excuse me. So hips back, the goal was, depending on where the bar is in your back, to get into your posterior chain more. So if I say hips back, I automatically load this stuff more. But you'll also notice my toes kind of came up already. So if I go hips back, my weight rocks back into my heels. I'm loading up these muscles, my chest is coming down. Now, if you were doing low bar back squats, so Mark Rippetoe style, maybe you do sumo stance with powerlifting, might work well for you. But what we see often when people think hips back, they're also so concerned about keeping chest up. We see this one. Whoop. And then they go down. So now not only are we kind of overextending our lower back, so we're in a weak position, our abs are dumping out the front, so we're not as stable. And then my weight also transfers way too far back to my heels at the same time. So we're just weak, and weaker. All right? So instead of just thinking hips back, I get it. A lot of people like to just go a little bit back. Almost think about going straight down and straight back up. Your balance is going to be better. You're going to work on that upright posture. You're not going to have that overextension in the spine. So again, watch out for only putting weight in your heels. Knees out, I get it, but just make sure you're not exaggerating it. You can hurt your knees as well as lose power in the squat, and you're probably squatting for power, right? And the last thing is when you think hips back, Imagine there's a steel rod from head to hips. If my hips go back, my shoulders have to come forward. So unless you like to squat looking like this, don't exaggerate that hip back and watch out for that overextension of the spine, all right? So those are 3 things that were all meant for positives when it comes to squats that people have taken, exaggerated, and made into a whole new style of squatting that's gonna cost you power, maybe injury, all right? So check that out. If you're looking for strength and you're having a hard time figuring out how to program for yourself, check out structureyourstrength.com. Talk to you guys soon.